Hello guys, and Dr. Anna is back. Because I know how sickening it is to watch any of Putin's press conferences. But it is particularly difficult and harmful for your health to watch him speaking about the Russian economy or the history of Russia. That's why I decided to do that for you, and right now we can discuss just the symptoms that became more visible during Putin's conversations on St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. It is hosted in Putin's hometown, St. Petersburg, and once it was a truly important economic event. But I guess since the start of the Russian war against Ukraine since 2014, since 2015, it lost its importance. Once visited by energy giants, big businesses from the European Union and the USA, this time it was officially visited, and I'm not exaggerating, by the delegation of Taliban. Just imagine that for a second. So let's make this autopsy of the Russian economy and some psychopathological evaluation of Putin, because it can tell us a lot about the state of the Russian Federation right now, their future plans, and how soon this all will collapse, because it will. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see Putin in The Hague with his psychopathological evaluation done by professionals of the criminal psychiatry field, subscribe. We will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. So let's start with this brief information about Putin's Davos. That's how the Russian media keep naming the event, literally parroting an important economic forum that is so different from the pathetic event organized by the Kremlin mafia. I loved the headline of Moscow Times, and by the way, to a great extent, that's an oppositionary source, and they named it Putin's Davos reduced to Taliban. Yes, they had a flag of Taliban among the other flags of a few countries visiting the forum, and they had a delegation and lots of photos of this terrorist visiting another terrorist, because oh my god, people, when will we finally accept that Russia is a terrorist state? So this St. Petersburg International Economic Forum once was a big economic event visited by, various economic giants, energy giants, companies from the United States, companies from the European Union, but no more. Even with Trump constantly speaking about the deals, constantly complimenting Putin, it did not work out, and Russia did not have what to boast with. Actually, a lot of experts observed some of the panels, discussions online, and they were surprised to see that, your attention please, Russian Minister of Economy, Sberbank CEO, and that is the main Russian bank, and Central Bank of Russia Nibulina representative, the head actually, all spoke about the potential recession of the Russian economy in the presence of Putin. And trust me, I'm a Ukrainian, we understand Russian mentality way better than Witkoff and Trump. If they are speaking about the potential recession, if they are pronouncing this word in the presence of Putin, it means it is already underway. It is already happening, because they always hide problems, and if they are talking about these problems in St. Petersburg, Putin's hometown, openly, in the presence of journalists, it's unavoidable. Then Russian recession is the next step in Putin's blitzkrieg. Actually, during these days, attentive people can notice a number of very humiliating steps that the Kremlin dictator had to make. Subscribe to witness more of these steps to his fall, and share these videos if you share my opinion. But please have a look at these symptoms. Number one, have you noticed that the majority of Putin's press conferences are now held very late at night? And not because he's busy, because, come on, he could find time, Zelensky can find time, Trump can find time, Macron can find time somewhere in the evening, in the late evening, but Putin records his press conferences approximately at 2-3 a.m. Moscow time, which is very late for such an elderly person. And do you know why he's doing that? Because he wants to be on Fox News. He knows that Trump gets his information not from the intelligence services, the best intelligence services in the world, not from some smart advisors, not from General Kellogg, but from Fox News. And Putin does everything. Putin does not go to sleep to appear on that Fox News and to send some primitive messages to the temporary leader of the White House. So this is humiliation number one. Imagine that you have to wait really late, maybe take a short nap before you can address and hope that Fox News will show you. Second, Putin kept speaking about China, that his granddaughter speaks Chinese, fluent Chinese, that his daughter started learning Chinese, and actually 80% of the cars that are now sold in Russia are not Russian, not even Ladas, but Chinese cars. They tried showing some robots on that economic forum, and they were also borrowed from China. Right now, this future, this present, this money of Russia are all borrowed from China. That is humiliating, that is a proof of weakness, but unfortunately, that is also a great contrast between the way our allies support Ukraine, constantly banning us from defending ourselves, from striking Russian oil refineries, using long-range missiles, freezing Russian assets, giving those frozen assets for Ukraine to defend itself. And compared to this eagerness with which China, North Korea, previously Iran, were happy to help Putin immediately. It's really difficult, both from the military and just like human perspective. So thumbs up if you agree with me here. So waiting for 2 a.m. in the hope that you can brainwash more of Trump's team. Second, speak about Chinese, that like literally all your family is now speaking Chinese, and maybe that will be something important in a couple of decades in Russia. And all in the context of this serious recession. Guys, if the head of the central bank, Nibulina, speaks about that, if Russian Minister of Economy speaks about that, and the head of Sberbank speak about that, and they all use this term recession, cooling down, and traditional Russian metaphors. You know, when they have serious problems, they like substitute awful things with something more complex in this very Orwellian style. So, my dear people, do you know how they describe the future of the Russian economy? This CEO of Sberbank named it a perfect storm ahead of us. Thumbs up. And it seems to me that the Russian Minister of Economy described it as a negative growth. Negative growth. You know, just hearing this phrase, you may understand everything about Russia. That's how they describe their military operations. That's how they describe their standards of living. That's how they describe their economy. Their diplomatic status. Negative growth. So we observe this negative growth of the Russian economy, negative growth of Putin's Davos with Taliban delegation visiting it. Please just see the truth, because with these informational operations that Kremlin is so good at, that Kremlin has trained for centuries, inheriting them from the Russian Empire, from the Soviet Union, They trick a lot of good people who simply cannot imagine these layers of lies. But watch what their leaders are talking about. By the way, many think Putin may fire Nibulina, the head of their central bank, and she is a bad person because she's the part of the Russian government, but she is considered a smart person, partially the savior of this military machine. But she speaks openly now. Recession is the future. They have overheated economy, spending their resources, and they don't have any resources left. So they start learning Chinese. And Trump cannot break this alliance because there is a lot that unites China and Russia. And one of the main reasons, their desire to destroy the Western civilization. That is the main plan. And the main plan of Ukraine is to destroy their plans, to defeat and demilitarize Russia, to teach a lesson, and to slow down, those other authoritarian regimes that right now plan how they can reshape our world. I hope you enjoyed this Russian economy autopsy. I hope you share my vision of Putin's psychological evaluation. He kept saying a bunch of other nonsense, like that Ukrainians and Russians are one people. That's why he kills Russians so enthusiastically together with Ukrainians, because you remember they have already 1 million casualties. And many more absurd things. What I love best is when Russians, for example, say that the Ukrainian language is just a dialect, there is no Ukrainian language, and then you speak Ukrainian and they don't understand anything at all. Or when they steal our history and then they have serious problems of how to explain it, even in their textbooks, and they decide to capture the cities, to capture museums and cathedrals, and fail with that too. And here I will say my favorite phrase that I often repeat, and I consider the essence of Russia's problems. It's not NATO, it's not any other BS. It is the fact that Russia decided to steal our history, forgetting one important fact, that by trying to loot us, by trying to rewrite history books, you cannot steal the qualities that are necessary for the creation of such civilization as was Kievan Rus and as Ukraine today. There is a huge, tremendous civilizational difference, not just the physical border between Russia and Ukraine. And I'm happy that we stand united, and we need to remain united, no matter how much chaos we witness in the Kremlin or the White House. Trust me, if you open your eyes, if you see the details, you realize that the truth and the good must prevail. And to make us stronger, like these videos, share these videos. Also follow my new channel, Anna Danilchuk, where I share some personal memories about my early Soviet childhood, or about Ukrainian attitudes towards nuclear weapons, do we want them back, and so on and so forth. So remember to check and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Also follow me on X, on Blue Sky, on Instagram, on Threads, and join our Discord community. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. That is a blessing and an honor to have you in my life. Check our merch shop. We've got a lot of new designs that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine, and we need that right now a lot. And thank you for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!